everybody, Stewart and Swerdlow.
And Janet Swerdlow.
And this is the Expansions News Podcast for the first week of January 2015.
Wow, you said that really well.
I practiced all day.
I'm proud of you.
Because I was so worried about screwing that up.
Yeah, well, hopefully you won't. Yeah. It's a new year now. Hopefully you'll be able to say it correctly.
Well, I've been practicing all my scripts and all that stuff.
Okay.
Well, it's not happy news.
No?
No.
Oh, sorry to hear that.
Yeah, me too. And of course, everybody by now knows about the AirAsia jet that vanished and crashed in the Java Sea.
Yeah, it was very
shortly
sad.
after Christmas. But there's a very, very strange circumstances around the whole thing, and the stories on the news are very strange. For example, they have just recently said, according to satellite radar and whatever other equipment that they use, that the plane, and I'm going to quote, soared as fast as a fighter jet and then dropped almost vertically into the Java Sea as if being thrust down by a giant hand.
How would they even know that?
Well, this is crash experts revealed that. And now, if you remember, that is the same kind of the same thing they spoke about with the Air France 447 flight from Rio de Janeiro to Paris a couple of years ago. That also, they said, went straight down. Now,
they didn't say anything about it going straight up, that Air
No,
France.
it's a little bit different, but the way it crashed, it's very odd. Planes don't do that.
No.
They don't go straight down flat like that.
They're built to glide.
Now, also in this report about the AirAsia, it says the plane behaved in ways, and quote, bordering on the edge of logic before disappearing, and that the aircraft soared at unprecedented rate before falling almost vertically.
Sounds like he was trying to get away from something.
Well, it says that it rose up as fast as a fighter jet, then dropped almost vertically into the water as if being thrust down by hand. Now, the pilot was a fighter jet pilot.
Oh.
So it's interesting that they said that. Of course, other experts said that the Airbus 320 was in the grip of weather so freakishly extreme that there was nothing the pilots could have done.
But he sounded like he was trying to do something.
Well, I'm going to get to all of that, and if you just chill.
Well, I'm so excited to know what you found out.
I know,
because
just
there's so
calm
many
yourself down, calm yourself down.
Conflicting
Take some of those pills you have.
bits of evidence here.
Yeah. Now, it said, now this is the other thing. The jet climbed at a speed that would have been impossible for the pilots to have achieved. Then how did it happen?
So I was going to say, how did they do that?
If it's impossible, how could it happen?
That doesn't make sense.
And it just doesn't make sense. And then it says the jet went down almost vertically. This is the weird part. It said the plane climbed at virtually unprecedented rate of 6,000 to 9,000 feet per minute. That's pretty quick. And it says you can't do that at altitude in an Airbus.
So then how did he do it?
Right. So how can they say this if they said it's not possible to happen, but this is what happened?
So maybe there was some kind of a weird plane that was only made to look like an Airbus. Of course,
they're saying that could have been some kind of a micro burst with the thunderstorm that kind of sucked the plane up and then threw it back down. It said the aircraft fell at an even more incredible rate of 11,000 feet per minute with an extraordinary burst of 24,000 feet. It's unbelievable. You can't. First of all, it would have just disintegrated. You see? And then it said it would indicate a severe weather event. And then I said, like you, maybe he was trying to avoid something.
That's what it sounds like to me.
Yes,
but that kind of experience and that kind of a plane, he pushed it obviously to its limits for a reason.
Well, as you know, we have a lot of clients in the aero industry, plane, aerospace, all that, and we know that pilots do not go above. They don't try to get above weather. They go around it. See.
But he had requested.
He requested, and it was refused. But if it was an emergency, airline and these experts would tell you that the pilot has to make his own decision and try to get around it anyway.
Right, he has to do what he has to do to save his plane and his passengers.
But now it gets even more interesting because just yesterday, it was reported that the AirAsia flight did not have permission to fly from Surabaya to Singapore on that Sunday morning. So the aircraft, or the AirAsia airline, had committed a violation of the route that had been given to them.
That doesn't make sense either, does it?
No, no. And so because of that, they have suspended their right, the airport or wherever, they've suspended their rights for that route.
Now that just does not make sense either.
You know,
Especially an experienced pilot, if he doesn't have permission,
he was
he's
very
not going to take
experienced.
off.
He was very experienced. He was familiar with, he's from Indonesia, so he was experienced. Here's my questions regarding the...
Now, before you ask the question, just so that we can review, it was a short flight, wasn't it? Like an
2
hour?
hours. 2 hours.
Yeah, short flight. So.
And it crashed after 40 minutes, 45 minutes.
Yeah. Anyway, so go ahead.
So here are my questions. If they had no permission to fly, how could the airport authority allow them to leave?
Right.
That's the major, that wouldn't happen anywhere,
So,
anywhere.
And the tower had to give him something to take off with.
Yes. Next question. If the pilot saw the radar before leaving, which is mandatory, all pilots look at the route, what's on the way, and he saw what was there that was dangerous, why would he leave knowing he was going into that weather?
Plus the other pilots that are in the air, they report back to the ground. So they
Yes,
not only
right.
look what's on radar, but they have what the other pilots are telling them.
Right, and the pilots go around the storms and not over them. So here's the other thing. Then there's other reports that said that they think maybe the pilot landed safely on the water and the passengers survived, but the waves sunk the plane.
But if you came down so fast,
Well,
how
they're
could he
saying,
have pulled himself out of that?
well, that's the thing, it's like every day is another cover story.
Yeah, something that contradicts
And
the
first of all, planes are designed to float for a bit of time, even in the rough water, so that wouldn't have happened. And if it did happen that way, how did pieces from inside the cabin float away if it landed intact? So there's many strange things going on here, and you notice whenever such events happen, every day they put some kind of theory out there from this expert, that expert, so people get so confused, they just forget about it, and then whatever the official at the end is, that they accept that. So that's very sad to those people. And they still haven't found the whole thing yet either, by the way. Now, you know I always talk about the weather.
You?
Yes,
What
yes,
a
I talk about
shock.
it. It's very unusual,
Yes.
but I'm going to talk about it anyway. Do you know the storm we're having here today, the snowstorm?
Yeah.
Well, you know where it came from?
The sky?
I want you to take your pills before the next podcast, okay?
Doesn't snow come from the sky?
Yes, the snow comes from the sky, but this particular storm came from California. Yes.
They put it in a box and sent it up to the
Yes,
sky.
especially delivered to you
And then
at
dropped
our
it.
address. Now, it swept from the Mojave Desert of California and Nevada. It snowed in Las Vegas on New Year's Day.
It's unusual.
And also heavy snow in the Grand Canyon in Arizona and in New Mexico. And the residents of Southern California actually snapped the photos of their snow-covered lawns as their kids tossed snowballs, because they don't have snow in Southern California at the low levels like that. 180 motorists were rescued after they were stranded on highways northeast of Los Angeles. And many Southern Californians were so excited to see the snow at their front door. Yeah.
Just like you.
Yeah, except they don't have to shovel it because it'll melt.
But you get so excited when it snows.
So much
at your
for-
front door.
Yeah, so much for global warming, snowing in LA and Las Vegas. That's global warming, right? And of course there were high winds that knocked trees down in California, killed 3 people, unfortunately. The mayor of Temecula, I love the name of that city, Temecula.
Have you been there?
I think I just drove through it once. He said his children were sledding outside their home on bodyboards that they usually use at the beach or the pool. Yeah, So, of course, now the storms at the Great Lakes, and we have very bad cold weather coming. So, it'll be just in time for our class.
Well, last winter we had a wonderful class.
Yes, but we had my big snow walls, remember?
Yeah, we did. But there was beautiful blue sky amongst that, so it was...
You know, it did snow every day because I had a shovel.
But it was very pretty.
By the time you wake up, everything's clear, so you think nothing
It's
happened.
very pretty
But I've been
because-
up till 4 a.m. shoveling.
It's very pretty. It just kind of drifts down.
Yeah, it drifts down. I think it's drifted in here a little bit.
Covers everything, and then
Okay,
the blue sky
okay.
comes out. It's beautiful.
Okay, back to me.
Yeah. I love Michigan in the winter.
Good. Because if you go to California, it'll be snowing too.
Well, they sent their storm to us.
It goes right from California right here.
Yeah.
That's what happens.
In a box.
In a box. Now,
that's why it's outside your front door.
let's go to Europe. Okay?
Really? When?
Yeah, well, just close your eyes and make believe, okay?
Okay.
Now, you know, in Austria, in the certain town of St. Georgen an der Gusen, say that 10 times fast.
You know, when I send packages to Austria, they wind up in Australia.
You know why? Because you don't put EU afterwards.
Well, they should know the difference between Austria and Australia.
The postal people are like 3.
No. You have to say nice things.
Okay, I'm sorry, postal people. We have a good mailman.
We have good postal
We have a very
people.
nice mail. I like him very much.
But it's just odd that when you
And I bet he knows the difference in
Austria, it winds up in Austria.
You know, when I was in Austria, they were selling T-shirts that said, "No kangaroos in Austria."
That's funny.
Yeah. Now, anyway, there was suspiciously high radiation levels in this town, or around this town, and they knew that the Germans had a bunker nearby and had tested nuclear weapons. And they got more suspicious, and just last week, they opened up a 75-acre underground complex that was dug out from below the earth and granite, and sealed off the entrance with granite.
Oh my goodness.
All these years.
So how did they find this?
Well, because they said, you know, there's radiation coming up and we're mutating. We have like 4 eyes and like 6 legs. So they decided to see where it was coming from, and they found this underground bunker.
Yeah, but the thing is that radiation doesn't get out of granite.
Well, the door was sealed with granite.
Oh, but not the bunker
No,
itself.
it was just under the earth.
Gotcha.
Now, an excavation team was led by an Austrian filmmaker, Andreas Sulzer, who said the site was likely the biggest secret weapons production facility of the Third Reich. Now, here's where it gets interesting, because he said it was they probably relied on forced labor from the nearby Mauthausen concentration camp, and may have been using the testing location for nuclear bomb. Now, you know, I went to Mauthausen a couple of years ago, and it was a very strange place. You know, it had a swimming pool they said for the camp authorities and all that, but apparently all the concentration camps had swimming pools. Now, here's the other thing. According to this documentary, up to 320,000 inmates are said to have died because of the brutal conditions in the subterranean labyrinth. That means they didn't die in gas chambers.
Oh, interesting.
Now, when I went to Mauthausen and they showed us the gas chamber rooms and all that, it was the size of our kitchen. It was like hundreds of thousands of people did not die in here.
Was that small?
It was very small. And of course, they had staged, you know, things, you know, tables and things like that.
Right.
And I was like, really? It's very interesting. And you know that I recently had information, and we saw a documentary about Auschwitz, that they actually doctored up that camp to make it look like that, and that it wasn't. But guess what?
What?
I'm going to go visit there
and see for yourself.
And see for myself.
Okay, but listen to me. You know, we happen to know that they took a lot of people and they moved them to Antarctica.
Those were not the inmates. Those were the German Aryan-like people that they picked in Poland, Germany, Ukraine, those areas.
Yeah, but what if instead of making these people work in there and then they said they died there, maybe was a secret tunnel from there.
No. They only took certain kind of genetics.
Well, we don't know what they might have taken.
And those genetics were not in the concentration camps.
No, well, they might have been.
No.
And they might have taken them out of secret tunnel and put them in Antarctica, and they might be alive today with all their descendants.
Well, it says here, guess what?
What?
All the inmates that were at the concentration, they were chosen for their skills in physics, chemistry, and other sciences that would advance the Nazis' quest for weapons.
Well, so that's what I'm saying. They could have actually taken some of these people and put them in Antarctica, in the Fourth Reich.
And apparently, this documentarist has offended or gotten someplace he shouldn't have gotten, because during the digging, they had to stop they were stopped by local officials who demanded a permit, and of course not to get one. So a lot of secrets going on there.
Interesting.
Now, here's a funny story.
You got a funny one?
It's actually funny because it's from the U.S. government, so it's hilarious, okay? Guess what happened this week?
Who knows?
The CIA said that reports of unusual activity in the skies in the 50s, it was us.
Well, it's kind of true.
They said that the CIA was the culprit behind more than half of the UFO sightings logged in the 1950s and 60s. Really? Does that include all the abductions and the landings with physical evidence? Was that them too?
Well, but they worked in conjunction with the aliens.
Well, they said here that their U-2 spy planes were at 60,000 feet in altitude, and it was impossible for humans to be at that height in those days. So it said the observers then suspected that it was aliens, but it was really the CIA. Yeah, and so the CIA is then, are they admitting that they had vehicles that made right-angle turns at 50,000 miles an hour then?
Well, they may be.
They're full of crap.
Well, didn't they work
Just
with
like they said the aliens that were found in Roswell were really crash dummies that were dropped from the sky.
Yeah, but didn't the CIA work with the aliens?
Yeah, but believe me, the CIA, they still can't find their way out of a paper bag. They didn't fly those planes.
Well, I didn't say they flew them, but they might have been in cahoots with the aliens.
This report was part of documents that was declassified in 2013 that detailed the existence of Area 51 in Nevada.
Which, by the way, they're supposed to have an airline, remember, that flies there by the name of Janet.
Which is very suspicious of you.
Yes.
And guess what? Guess what they are keeping classified?
Who the aliens are.
No, the CIA. They're calling them pigeon missions. What does that mean?
Never heard of it.
Pigeons? Or is that what they call
Maybe.
planes?
I would have looked that up online.
I think it was very odd. Now.
You have more?
Yes, but the Queen is not going to be amused.
No?
You know why?
What now?
Because Prince Andrew has been accused of having forced sex with women at parties.
Well, they will do it.
And the royals have issued a strong denial of all the categorically untrue claims.
No, they all do all that stuff.
But the victim, the woman who was reporting this, said she will not be bullied into silence.
No, they'll just kill her.
She was told to give the prince whatever he demanded. But a Buckingham Palace spokesman has denied claims Prince Andrew lobbied the U.S. government against the prosecution of his longtime friend Jeffrey Epstein, who was a U.S. billionaire pedophile. And the allegation comes as court papers emerged, which also sensationally claimed the royal abused an underage girl at an orgy where she was being used as a sex slave. No.
Sounds like your stuff.
It sounds like this is David Icke stuff, isn't it?
Yeah. You both talked about all that
The
stuff.
Queen is probably having the vapors.
I'm sure the Queen probably sanctioned all of that.
She was probably jealous she wasn't in on it.
Probably.
Maybe she was. Maybe she ate them.
She could have. You have more? You done?
Well, we're going to go to you now because I'm so emotionally spent from that story.
All right. Well, I've got a couple that are interesting that you might not have heard of.
I heard of everything.
Well, we'll find out. Have you heard about the I Can't Breathe t-shirts?
Oh, yeah, of course.
You have?
Yeah.
What'd you hear?
Because of the guy that was choked in New York, and he said, I can't breathe, and listen, and he died.
Right. And so...
And that's kind of like what I do with you sometimes. When you choke me, I say, Janet, I can't breathe, and you know.
Anyway, apparently there's a California school district where the children wanted to wear the shirts during warm-ups, and they were forbidden for wearing that. So, of course, we have a First Amendment lawyer who represented one of the players that had to take it to court. And then all of a sudden the school district reversed it, saying they could wear it. What I find interesting is I Can't Breathe has to do with people's emotions. And so while people are wearing this shirt, they're saying it's in support of Eric Garner, who was unfortunately choked to death by police, and it was, in order to make people more aware.
And by the way, I do think they did something very wrong there.
Oh, absolutely. I agree with you at that. Whoever was involved in that did something very wrong. But my point still is, by using the shirts, I Can't Breathe, that is going to be another repression of people's emotions. Okay? So my feeling is, first of all, it's a trigger. You can't breathe, you feel suffocated, you feel claustrophobic, etc. So it's trigger. So I suggest, even though you may feel supportive of what happened, that you not wear the shirts.
Yeah, I agree. Because that imprints your energy.
That's right, absolutely. All right, then now when I also was talking about all the racism that's going on, there's a new app called Driving While Black. Now, if we had one called Driving While White, there would be a big uproar.
See, for me, I would be like driving while blacked out.
Yeah, well, it's not about you.
No.
But the thing is that I remember I told you also about a black man who was teaching his black children how not to basically act black so they don't
Get in trouble.
Get in trouble. So now we have this. And you know, when I was looking at the things they're telling them not to do, it's the same thing like, for example, I would tell our children not to do. Like, don't reach for your cell phone when you're talking to the police.
Don't pay attention to your father.
Well, you tell them don't do
No, you don't say what you would say.
No, I wouldn't say that. But anyway, it said just that's one of the tips, you know, because the police might assume you're looking for a gun. And then it says that black people, and again, I don't know who they poll, but black people say that they feel like when they're pulled over, it's not always justified. Well, I would say, again, give the same advice to our son, you know, that they're profiling young men, you know, because they're the ones that get into the most trouble. So I said, you know, you have to obey the law like to the nth degree so that you're not pulled over. And statistically speaking, for young people, they have more accidents and more issues. So anyway, I thought that this was really, you know, not appropriate. You know, again, more of the racism, you know, let's divide and conquer. Oh, another thing that happened to me many years ago. When I was actually riding with someone in a car that was a poor-looking car, you know, more of a beat-up car, and this person was showing us houses in a rich, what I would call a richer type of neighborhood. They got stopped.
And you were in the car?
I was in the car, and they basically said, "What are you doing in this neighborhood?" So again, and we were all a car full of white people.
Was that in Seattle?
No. It was in California, actually. And so anyway, my point being is that they are going to stop you, and driving while black, I'd say, no, don't do this because this promotes racism. Now, speaking of weather, I have a weather story as well that has to do with the Mayan civilization's collapse. And I kind of found this one interesting for a variety of reasons. I don't know if you saw this story about Belize's blue hole.
Yes.
That researchers are now saying that they believe that the weather is what caused the collapse of the Mayan civilization. Because what's happening now is we have this climate change going on. And we have a lot of weather things happening. And so by setting it up that this happened to the Mayans, we could say, oh, this is going to happen to us too. And it goes on to talk about that there were layers of sediment that shows drought in certain years, which led to certain...
What does it got to do with that blue hole?
Well, that's where they found the sediment, apparently.
But it's underwater.
Somehow they went down and I didn't think they knew where the bottom of the blue hole was. Apparently I must be wrong. But anyway, so they're studying that sediment, and there was a team led by a Rice University professor that found silt layers dated around 800 AD.
Was a little note that said 800 AD on it?
It said it showed significantly diminished rainfall. Now, this is my
question. It was
underwater.
Yes,
exactly. It was underwater.
This looks like it hasn't been rained on. That's
yes.
because it's freaking underwater.
But then they found a second dry period, approximately beginning 1000 AD, from the same place, underwater. And then it says the timeline coincides with events in the final centuries of the Mayan civilization. They knew that beginning AD 700, their building efforts slowed down, and they ultimately relocated from the central Yucatan Peninsula to the northern areas. They also talked about by AD 1100, their new home in Chichen Itza had fallen as well. And again, the scientists believe that this was due to a change in weather patterns. And this is from the black hole, or the blue hole? Yeah, the blue hole off the coast of Belize. So I found that interesting because it could be lining us up for the same thing, saying our civilization is going to fall because of blah, blah, blah.
Well, we'll be looking out for blue holes out there.
Okay, now here's another thing. This is my last story. Equally as ridiculous, but I'm going to report on it anyway. And I've had a couple people actually mention it to me.
Okay.
This has to do with the main reason that cancer happens.
Oh, I heard about that.
Yes. Bad luck is to blame for 2/3 of cancer cases. So this is the new research that everybody puts all their money out.
Yeah.
And this is Johns Hopkins researchers.
Brilliant. So in other words, you go for the doctor and he says, you have a case of bad luck, I'm very sorry.
Yes. And in fact, and I just have to put this side note in there, that when our son was diagnosed with his issue back in 2007, we were told by the doctor that it was bad luck.
I think that going to that hospital was bad luck.
No. And now it says researchers note it's usually a combination of luck, environment, and hereditary that can cause cancer.
Right.
Or heredity, I'm sorry. But it generally still comes down to luck, giving the example of smoking. For example, some people smoke and never get cancer, while others smoke and have complications.
Right.
So,
it has nothing to do with mind patterns.
No, it has nothing to do with mind patterns, but listen to this. This is a quote from one of the researchers. He says, many forms of cancer are due largely to the bad luck, regardless of lifestyle and heredity factors. The best way to eradicate these cancers will be through early detection when they are still curable by
rabbit's foot?
Surgery.
Oh.
They want to cut it out.
Well, you just get good luck instead. Then I have good luck.
Well, they said that some people are good luck, but 2/3 are bad luck. And so this alters people's perception about cancer risk and aids in the development of new strategies to fight cancer. In other words, let's just continue to cut you up.
Well, basically what it's saying is it doesn't matter what you do because you might get it or you might not get it.
Right, right.
So, bad luck.
Bad luck. So I suggest instead of bad luck, you attend one of our seminars.
I'll learn about the mind patterns. Held resentment causes cancer.
Yes.
Not bad luck.
And where it manifests in the body has to do with the specific mind pattern. Breast cancer for women has to do with women who either are not nurturing or have felt like they are not being nurtured.
And resent it.
Yes. So all kinds of things. So if you come to our classes, we will teach you these things that is much more than bad luck. So, and then with that said, I have announcements of our events.
Yes, but I don't know where you want to begin.
Well, I'm going to begin, well, you can add in. I'm going to begin in October.
Oh, okay.
Okay, right now we have our working title in October of Hidden Histories and Mysteries, Digging Deeper. It's going to be fascinating.
And we might have a special guest.
We might. We're working on that one. In August, do you have anything in August?
Well, there was this, but I don't know if we should say anything.
Let's not say that one yet because we're still looking.
It's a secret.
Okay, in August,
it's in the blue hole.
We are working on putting together a radionics workshop.
That was my next one.
Well, I have that on my list too. Probably about a 4-day one.
4 days?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Do you have anything before the end of April?
No.
Okay. I have April 24, 25, and 26, our annual Spring Healing Seminar, Addicted to Addiction, Get Hooked on Health Instead. Then we have before that, in Pennsylvania, yes, I have that one, April 10th, 11th, and 12th, Free Your Mind Conference.
I will free your mind.
And when you get your ticket, if you put expansions in the coupon code, you get $20 off. Then February and March.
Right.
You're going, and I don't have the dates on my paper, but we'll be getting that online soon.
Yeah.
You're going to be in the Czech Republic.
Yeah.
Are you going to be seeing people then or not?
Oh, I'll see people who are living there.
Yeah, but are you going to be doing
hopefully there'll be people I
consultations
see.
there?
No, I'm doing the movie, remember?
Yeah, but I don't know if you're going to have any time for consultations. Because a couple
Probably
people,
not, because I'll be in the studio.
We're going to find out because a couple of people have requested that already.
And
then we
I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, check it out. Then we have Austria, which is not Australia.
Well, you skipped
Austria.
one.
I did.
That's before Austria.
Right, and I'm going backwards, so it's Czech.
So actually, the Czech was first. That's going to be
So
in
I should
February.
have done Austria first.
Yes.
Okay, Austria. Then we have Poland. You're going to be there. And then we have the Czech Republic.
Right. And there's a possibility about something in Taipei, which will be called a spiritual tour.
Yeah. Well, we're not sure. Again, that one, that's why I didn't mention
I'll
it.
know this week.
Well, there's a couple.
I'm just throwing it out there.
Okay, that's why you have to read the
For
website.
all my Asian listeners.
Because this is kind of like advance notice, so you can kind of start thinking. And then we're doing our webinars again. The prophecy one was very interesting. We had a lot of interest in that one. So, March 10th and 12th, we're going to be doing one on the human animal mind explained. A lot of people don't know about the animal mind that runs the physical body versus the higher mind that runs you.
Will you be giving me as an example of the animal mind?
Yes.
Okay.
And you'll be naked. All right.
Well, I usually am around the house.
Yeah. And then on February 22nd, 23rd, 24th, and 25th, I've done this before, and it was very successful. We had a 3-day group fast.
And you can have it.
That went very well. And before
I'm
that, February 10th and 12th, fasting and detoxification, how you can benefit.
See, I'm already pure. I don't need to do that.
And then January 27th and 29th, cult and abusive relationship recovery. So these are some good webinars. Look forward to
I'll
those.
say.
And of course, in a couple of weeks.
Next
week already, huh? Okay, we have our January Hyperspace Oversoul Extravaganza, and I think we're down about 2 spaces left.
Is that really?
So if you're interested, do not delay, because we're getting started with or without you, and it only happens once a year. And it's our biggest, most intense class. And if you want to be in our Oversoul Mastermind group, you do have to have this January class under your belt.
You know what I got under my belt?
A mankini? That's what I figured. It's all over the internet, you know.
I hope so.
Yeah, and all your pictures are there too.
Good.
Yeah.
I posted them myself.
I know you did. That's why I'm explaining there. They're all over the internet now.
You're so jealous.
Was it a half mankini or a full mankini?
Let them go look and see.
All right. So that's, and we want to be sure you like our Facebook page, please, and invite your friends, our fan pages. And anything else?
Just if you're coming to the January class, bring your woolies.
Your what?
Your woolies. And your willies. People in New Zealand will understand.
Yeah. Those are the ones that are going to paint their...
Let's not go there. Oh, you know what you forgot?
What?
That Japanese woman artist that creates art shaped like...
Oh, I didn't forget that.
Oh, okay. That's next week?
I don't know if I'll even do that.
I'm so excited about it. I can't wait for you to
But
say
then
it.
you should do it.
I don't have it with me now.
Well, you're going to have to figure that one out.
All right.
All right? That's
All right.
it.
Well, I guess that's it for now, people. See you next time.
Bye-bye.